Hello folks and welcome to the Vertigo Tea Party and let's try Betrayer. It's from Black Powder Games, which is made up of some of the devs who have worked on Shogo, No One Lives Forever, and the original Fear. You can pick it up for $19.99 from either the official site, the Humble Store, Steam, Amazon, and quite a few other websites. I'll put a link to several of those in the description below, but you can find a link to all the places you can buy it on their official page, which again I will link in the description below the video. It is available for Windows, and it does support Steam achievements and has partial controller support. Let's go ahead and hop right into the game that I've got going now. I think I'm about an hour and a half in. It's a very interesting perspective action game, action exploration adventure type game. And as you can see right off the bat, the first thing that is immediately obvious is the graphical style. I am the first person to mock the black and whiteization, which is a real word of things to get some kind of a cheesy, oh, look at how classy this picture looks or how this video looks. Instagram people being the worst offenders of this. However, I will say that I really like this effect in this game. Some things are red, enemies will be red, certain important objects will also shine as just being red, and it really sticks out. And I think overall it looks really good. It's got a nice creepy atmosphere. I like the wind blowing, just some of the atmospheric effects that we'll hear a little bit later on while we're playing. It gives a nice creepy overall vibe, and I really, at the beginning of the game, I really got sucked in. I love it when the wind blows. I can watch the grass push or sway, and the trees sway. And the wind blowing is actually a somewhat important tactical aspect of the game as well. Now, here's somebody you meet early on. She's forgotten who she is, but she knows that she was looking for her sister. Story-wise, what's happening is this is 1604, and you are coming to this colony to, I guess, help this struggling colony, but when you got here, everything had gone horribly wrong. Now, we don't know what's gone horribly wrong, and part of the game is trying to figure out everything that has happened. So first of all, let's just kind of run around and take a look at the world. You'll find these grave markers from place in some areas. I've actually already inspected some of those, and it puts pretty much everything into your notebook, which is really nice. It's a good log, especially for people who, like me, forget things all the time. It does a good job of marking stuff that's new so that, oh, I can find it pretty quickly. It will also mark stuff with a square once you found everything that's important about that item, which I really also like. And it does the same thing for people, notes. There's several investigations that you're doing, trying to find out what's going on with them. You also do have an inventory you can buy and sell. And as a matter of fact, before we go too far, I'm going to buy some more arrows because I am very, very low on those. If you look at the bottom right, you can see my health. I have 100 health, which is the max. And I've only got 5 of 16 arrows. I'm going to stab that before I purchase because for good luck, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and buy some longbow arrows. At the bottom, you see our loot. We pick up gold, but we also pick up random items. It automatically converts all of that to just a generic loot, which is totally a-okay by me. Let's go ahead and get that. There's also other things that you can buy. There's better longbows. There's a musket that you can buy as well. The muskets and the pistols take a very long time to reload. Again, keeping in mind that this is 1604. There's also some charms that you can purchase that become 4% harder to see. Health increased by 5%. Accommodate 12 musket loads. And you can kind of compare that. You can also sell what you have. I haven't really found a whole lot though, so I like the bow and arrow the most. But I've also got a pistol. I can remember how to switch to it. Oh, I've got a rusty musket, which that sounds like yet another good band name, Rusty Musket. But the musket does a lot of damage, but it takes a very long time to reload. So right now, I'm actually kind of unsure of where I'm supposed to go. Oh, something saw me. I'm not sure where it is, though. Things can be quite difficult to see due to everything being in black and white. However, I read something, the developer's website and their blog, and that was actually on purpose. They actually like that it's hard to discern things. Now, some enemies are easier to see because of the red. Now, let's watch how long this takes to reload. Now, these guys actually do a pretty decent job at predicting where you're going to be. I think there's another guy next to me. So, as you can see, that did a lot of damage. I killed him in one shot. And let's just watch how long this takes to reload. There they go. That's why I like the bow and the arrow. Can't carry. What is this? I'm not sure what that is that I cannot carry. I don't know why I can't, but oh well. Who cares? But I like the bow. The bow does feel a bit weird with the way the mechanics of how it works. Like when I pull it back, graphically it doesn't really look like it's pulled back. Like this is not pulled back. This is pulled back. Not pulled back. Pulled back. So I think that could use a little work. It doesn't feel, I guess, natural, or it just doesn't feel visceral, I guess is the term I'm looking for. So you can hear a noise. You listen and I shut up. Actually, it kind of stopped. There we go. It's louder now for some reason. At least for me, it's a little louder. That noise is whenever there's loot nearby and, oh, what do you know? There's a note. Page scrap. Why has the Lord Governor ordered us to collect up valuables and shiny trinkets to hide in the woods away from our settlements? What purpose can such measures serve but to deject the populace already forlorn for hunger, sickness, and constant harassment by Spanish attacks? So I'm going to try to avoid giving away too many spoilers story-wise, because obviously the story is something that's important in this game, a central aspect, if you will. So I will say that there is something to do with Spaniards going on that we're examining. There's also these things that I don't quite understand. Let's examine it. It's shrouded in corruption. Okay. We'll probably come back to that in just a little bit, but I want to kind of show you the light world. Now, as far as like, what are you doing here? What am I doing? Honestly, I'm kind of at a loss right now. Oh, I'm actually low on health as well. You can see the 2 plus signs. That's my water jugs, I guess. I can drink one, and one of those jugs goes away, and I get healed for some health. So far, the combat has been 95% super easy. But then there's those times that the enemies just really get you. Oh, I see an enemy. I can see the spot of red. Of course, that'll probably be a little bit harder to see on YouTube. But now, here's kind of the stealth aspect. And I understand marketing speak and all that, but they really kind of oversold the stealth aspect. Unless there's some aspect later on that you get to that makes it more interesting. Basically, the way it works is that you have a crouch. And while you're crouching, you're much quieter. So I can sneak up on this enemy so that he can't see me. However, also when it's windy like this, you can move faster without being heard. But enemies still see you very easily. So if you get in front of them, even if you're pretty far away and crouching, they'll see you. So let's see how close we can get to this guy while the wind is actually blowing. And I'm going to sneak because I'm not sure just how quiet the wind makes you. Because I've actually tried like sprinting while the wind's blowing, and I don't think they saw me unless they turned around. But all right, I'm going to sneak up because I'm going to... And you can quick save, but oddly enough, you can't just like... There's no load option. I can only save, continue, and save and quit, which I think is probably their way of trying to force to keep you from like quick saving and quick loading, which is kind of weird because at that point, why even bother giving me the option to quick save? Wind's still blowing. A little bit. Well, that's not too bad. Let's go ahead and pop this guy. And maybe you could see what I mean about the bow and arrow being a little weird. There we go. We got him one-shotted. The sounds also throw me off a bit. A lot of times when I'm pulling back my bow, the sound makes it sound like there's an enemy to my left. I don't know if it's because the sounds aren't centered or if it's just my perception. Maybe it's so realistic that it's throwing me off. But somebody must have found this grave marker before. So what I'm actually going to do is head back to town. And you don't have to run back. Certain areas on the map, if I actually bring up the map, you can fast travel to. So anything with this little cross, I can fast travel to. And obviously these are places I've already been. This dotted circle shows you where you are now. So what I'm going to do is travel to Fort Henry. And we are going to heal up. That sound of the flag always gets me. Whenever I first load, it took forever for I was like, oh my god, what's that noise? And I realized, oh, it's just the flag flapping in the wind. She likes to move around a lot. A lot of times when you come back into town, she'll have moved. But anyway, let's go ahead and drink some of this very life-giving water and fill our canteens, which it does automatically. As you can see, we got the 2 pluses again. Now, this is another big aspect, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but you find this pretty early on. You find this bell, and so what happens when we ring this bell? Oh, I see. So it kind of teleports you to a dark world. You notice the girl in red is missing now, and we have these 2 spirits that you can talk to and actually give you... I don't know if I want to say they give you quests per se, but you find things out in the world that you can bring back to them and say, hey, do you remember this, or do you know what this is? And these ghosts, because they're dead and they died in relatively traumatic ways, they don't really remember everything that's happened to them. And a lot of times they'll recall events, but not exactly as they happened. But you can kind of piece together the story. So at one point, like, I talked to him and I showed him an item. He's like, oh, I remember this from blah, blah, blah. And so I took it, and he referenced another ghost, and I talked to that ghost, and he fills in part of the story and kind of corrects stuff that the other ghosts will say. And then you can go back to that first ghost and he'll be like, oh, I remember now that this is how it really happened. So that's an interesting aspect, and I actually am interested to find out what's going on in the story, like what has happened to this colony, why they're all dead and all that. And items do glow, which I really appreciate because I'm blind. Let's read this. Page scrap. Several among the council are wary of treating with the naturals, but I believe I have convinced them of the necessity, for we cannot escape. The Sir Christopher will outfit a resupply fleet with sufficient urgency to ensure it reaches us from England before we have no more need of it. We will starve before spring without succor. Is it succor? Succor? I don't know. Anyway, by naturals, I feel pretty certain they mean Indians or Native Americans, if you want to get all PC. Now, there's some things that are different in this world, or in the dark world. Let's just call it the dark world. Pretend we're playing Zelda Link to the Past. Anyway, there's things that are different in the dark world than there are in the light world. And we'll go over some of those. One of the things that you can do is listen. Now, you'll notice I have some markers on my compass. Now, if you actually have decent hearing, which I don't, then you can just kind of follow the sound, and it will lead you to something interesting. So we're going to actually head towards that sound and hope nothing horrible happens. Actually, we do kind of hope something horrible happens. My number one complaint with this game so far has been there's rocks dropping. My number one complaint with this game so far, I love the atmosphere. I like the black and white. I like the aesthetics. I don't like all the running around. A lot of time has been spent... Oh, you can see a skeleton there. I can't tell which way he's facing. Oh, he's kind of looking this way. Now, the wind does not blow. Whoa, I completely missed that. Wow. There we go. And oddly enough, doing headshots on skeletons is pretty nice. Another thing that I'm not really crazy about is that if there's a group of enemies just like that, that were like together, being quiet doesn't matter once you hit one. They all seem to automatically know where you are from that point. Now, I might be miscalculating, but it seems like every single time I've ever attacked an enemy within a group of enemies, even if I was kind of far away and crouched and all that good stuff, they still immediately saw me. And kind of going back to my number one complaint is there is a lot of just running and trying to find the clues to figure out what's going on to kind of trigger the next step. What the? Okay, that was creepy. Alright, that noise means skeletons. Alright, we have to clear the corruption, which usually just means kill all the skeletons. We do have a melee attack as well. Let's go ahead and heal with Z. Yeah, you actually want to be further away from those guys than I was, because those range attacks that the skeletons do, if you're close, pretty much will always hit you. At least it seems that way. Oh, that guy saw me from far away. Probably should have been ducked. Oop, that was a terrible shot. Ah. Killed me as I killed him. So that seems to be kind of the pattern. The wind has shifted, dispersing the stench of corruption from the area. Now that is different, I think, than before. Because I've cleared these out before. Oh, God, I thought that was like a person standing there. Freaked out for a second. But, yeah, I've cleared these before. I don't really know all the prerequisites for clearing an area or cleansing it. But it basically seems to be coming to this area in the Dark World, and it will trigger a wave of zombies. Or not zombies, but skeletons. Zombies, skeletons, same thing. And that will cleanse. Everything has been cleansed of the corruption. You can tell because it's got a nice little white light around it. Now, the wind blowing, I don't recall that happening. I don't remember the message saying the winds have blown the corruption away or whatnot. Now, one other nice feature that I like, and I kind of forgot to show this before. Let's actually go back to Fort Henry. I want to see if anything's changed here. I don't want to talk to the NPCs just because I don't want to have any more spoilers than we're already going to have. I don't see anything that's different. I'm just going to kind of poke around. Like I say, I really like the atmosphere. I like the noises that are going on. Now you see things like this, but I can't dig this up because I don't have a spade. I've only got like a... Actually, wait, no. I've got the spade. I need the shovel. I forget which is which. But let's go ahead and drink and refill our canteens. Because it's usually pretty easy to avoid the enemies, but sometimes they can get you. But what I was talking about before, what I really like, is that I've ported to Fort Henry. I can go to last location. And that will take me back to where I just was. Given how much running is in this game, that is super useful. Especially because sometimes you find something way out in the middle of nowhere, and you need to teleport back to the camp. And kind of turn in the quest, as it were. And then you might want to go back to where you were. And that could be a long run, especially like if you're over here or way over here. Especially over here where there's no fast travel point, or way over here. It could take a long time. So it's nice to be able to very quickly travel back. So this has been a very interesting game so far. It's hard to kind of give past judgment on this. Because like I said, the traveling has been honestly pretty darn boring. Like, it's interesting at first. Let's travel to Dodds Hill and go to the west. Well, always west, young man. Always west. I got Diablo and like a western mixed up there. Good job. But yeah, I like the investigation aspect. I love the atmosphere. I love the art style. I like the audio. I think all of that is really neat. But just running around, trying to find pages and clues. I've already found that person. That can be a pretty good bit boring. Like I said, the audio, like I'm pressing X. Actually, I'm pressing the button to listen, and it's not making any noises anymore. So I don't know if I've just found everything that's over here, or if I'm actually ready to move on to the next level. And again, I kind of don't want to do that because I feel like games like this are not just atmosphere, but finding out what's going on. And I definitely I want to spoil the absolute minimum amount of things as possible, so that if you do try it out, you will, be surprised, because if you know it's coming, then it's not interesting. There are a few cases of this kind of thing, which I really hate, is invisible walls, which obviously I should be able to get over there, but it's invisible walls in the rock. It's not something I would, go on a tirade over and go, "Oh, you damn invisible walls." And I mean, granted, yes, if there was just a big mountain there, it'd be more obvious. But invisible walls are kind of like one step worse. Like this is like all right? I mean, you have to block it off somehow, and you're not just going to put a big gate that says, gamers go away. But this is better than just an invisible wall. Again, it's not something that I'm, going to lose sleep over or be like, well, this game was pretty good, but it had invisible walls. 2 out of 10. Worst game of the year. Worse than Aliens, Colonial Marines. Is that possible? Wow, it definitely is. Oh, this too. It is. Oh shit, he's still alive. Or undead. Whatever. Damn. Alright, that's the second time that's happened. The first time I didn't even attack him because I was just trying to watch, and he escaped. Or she, I guess. But yeah, the thief escaped. I'm assuming that's probably important, or well, maybe that's like a side thing. I don't know. Sorry, I thought I heard something shooting at me. Ah, there is some noises over this way. But probably not going to do a lot more exploration, but I just kind of want to show you guys the basics. Like I say, it's really hard to say. Like, I don't know how long this game is, but if you go out to the map, I always hit N instead of M. I mean, if this is any indication, I've spent... If you look at just Fort Henry and the coastal path. Coastal path is basically just where you land and start the game. I consider this whole area... oops, I didn't mean to do last location. But if you consider... Oh wow, don't ever misclick that. Oh, wait, can I do it again? Damn, no, I can't. That'd be cool if we could port back and forth. But if you consider all of this Fort Henry, which I do because it says Fort Henry at the top, then I've been in Fort Henry the vast majority of the time I've played this. So at least an hour running around Fort Henry, finding everything. And I still don't think I found everything. If all of this is in the game, then that seems like there's a lot of content. But I don't know for sure that that's the case. I mean, it could be, you know, coming later on. Now, this is a full game. It's not early access, and I don't believe it's alpha. There's a lot of mentions about being alpha and getting alpha access on the website. I think maybe that's just old and they haven't updated it just yet. But I am pretty sure, because there's definitely no indication on the Steam site that this is alpha, and it's definitely not marked as early access. So I don't think it's in alpha. I think just the website's not been updated. But I do know that they've been talking about they want to continue to update and put in new content for the game. Now, how much and how quickly, you know, obviously that remains to be seen. Yeah, so far it's been pretty fun, pretty interesting. Again, I actually am interested to find out just what the heck is going on, what has caused these terrible events around this colony to happen. And I definitely like the spooky atmosphere. Now, one other thing I wanted to look at. Let's go back to the fort, and what we're gonna do is go back to the normal world. And some folks might say, you know what, I really don't like the black and white thing. It's really off-putting, etc. I wish you could just turn that off. Well, they actually have a way to change that. You can click contrast and color settings here, and I can actually change this a bit. And hey, look at that. Now, obviously, it's a bit off because the game was purposely intentioned to be in black and white. But I think they added this because, you know, a lot of people requested it. Definitely looks a lot different. And I actually prefer just sticking in the black and white, you know, partially because that's, you know, that's what the developers intended. And I think it looks cool. But I think this looks really neat as well, like as an alternate. Like if I were to play this game a second time, like after I've beaten it once, I would play through it like this. Because it's still not quite realistic looking, but it still has a distinctive style, right? It's not photorealistic, but to me at least, it doesn't look like bad. Now, if you just like focus on, ooh, these textures are terrible. But I think as an overall look, I really like it. I still think it looks really interesting and very, very compelling look. And of course, other options you can change as well as far as the color. You can change your dark intensity and their light intensity. Make it a little darker, even though it's, you know, bright. You can take the color saturation, you can put it like in the middle, that's just too colorful for you. You can kind of go back to this and, you know, get a little bit of a different look. Now see, this is a neat look too. It's like not quite as vibrant. It still has a little tinge of a darkness, a little tinge of spookiness to it, but I definitely would stick with the black and white personally. And if you mess up the settings, like, oh God, I don't remember how to get it back, you just hit restore, it'll take it back. Other world gain, I think they were saying this is more for dark modders that are just, you know, dark, and it fixes that a little bit. But I honestly, for me, I don't notice a difference. But let's go ahead and we're actually going to save and quit, go to the main menu here, just to show you guys the options. Because I do try to remember to show all the options, because some folks, I know that's important. You can, this is the listen. This is where I talked about before, how when I listen, it puts those little markers on the compass. You can turn that off if you want to add a little extra depth and challenge. You can turn the compass off. You can turn the health and ammo display off. You can also turn it off so it doesn't show you on the map where you are. You can change enemy difficulty between less deadly enemies and deadlier enemies. You can also change this so that when you die, you drop all your loot when you die and you have to retrieve it. And I think it's like Dark Souls, where if you go back, you can retrieve it, but if you die again before you retrieve your items, then those items are gone permanently. So that's an interesting option for those who want a tougher challenge, because currently the way it is, if you die, you don't lose your items, you just go back to base. And I think all the enemies respawn. And they often will respawn in different spots unless they're very specifically placed there for a reason. Yet you can change your crosshair and make it look different. You can also turn the crosshair off entirely if you don't want it on. Here's the tone settings. We already covered those. You can change the key bindings. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. WASD for life. Change your mouse sensitivity, invert, sprint. Sprint is a toggle right now, which I actually prefer. Just be able to press sprint and then go. You have your video settings. You can change the resolutions, VSync, full screen. Change the FOV. Thank you very much for adding that, game developers. It's very appreciated. And overall, you can change the graphical qualities here. Shadow qualities, material quality, world level, etc., etc. And as well as the audio, you got your global, your music, and your sound effects. For this game, this is all you really need. There's pretty much no spoken dialogue, which I think is a bit unfortunate, but there's really not a lot of talking NPCs, I guess, other than the one lady and the ghosts. But it's, again, I would prefer to have spoken dialogue, but it's not going to kill me that it's not there. So anyway, that is Betrayer. Again, it's $19.99. I will have links to the game on the video description if you'd like to try it out yourself. If you do decide to try the game, let me know in the comments what how you think of it, or, just from this video, what do you think of what I've showed you? Again, I think it's very interesting. I really like the look. At first, I thought the black and white thing was going to be like, oh God, it's like another thing that's just going to go black and white just so that it looks artsy or classy or whatever. But I really think it adds to the overall feel of the game. If this was just a normal adventure or first-person adventure game, I think it would be a bit pretentious. But I feel like the way they use that, and the sounds and the wind and the red making certain things stick out, I think it works really, really well for this game. So definitely take it out. My only concern is the game length. The initial impression I got that it was pretty short, but that's just an initial impression. If you look at that map, and if the map is any indication, it could be quite a bit longer than I was thinking. You might want to check howlongtobeat.com to see how long people are reporting that this is taking to beat, or maybe even check the forums, though I'd say to be careful of spoilers if game length is a concern for you. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe, like my videos if you like them. It does help me out a lot. Follow me on Twitter, and I will see you next time.
Step back though. We are getting this worked up about a mobile game. I mean,
I do hate you though. I want to be 100% clear with a moment of seriousness. I hate your guts.